Hello everyone, welcome to F2, and that's a start as we've seen a car. Well, if that doesn't sum up F2, I don't know what does. As you can see, we're already in one-shot qualifying. As usual, a very chaotic start to an F2 stream. And we are here in Austria, the shortest track on the circuit. I'm your commentator, Bascom62. And Reflex Pilot, currently the quickest out there. We've got, if you're new to F2, we've got a one-shot qualifying, which is always very chaotic. And then it slows down a touch as we get into 50% races, 50% feature race, and a 50% sprint race. And we're keeping our eyes on Reflex Pilot because he is still up there, currently in P2, championship leader, division currently in P1. And Monkey P3. That's our top three right now as we come across to the penultimate corner at Austria. Always a fast circuit, two right-handers to finish. We're going to go on board with Division. The final corner and then race to the finish. He's currently on pole and he gets pole by 3/10 of a second. Monkey P2, the consistent top two in the championship, are up there again. And I believe that is Division's first pole of the season. So we are surprised that it's taken 5 rounds, but Division is on pole for the first time. And hopefully we can use the time before the feature race to get everything set up. And like I said, as usual, always a chaotic start to an F2 stream. One-shot qualifying, but Division has got for those 4 points for pole. We see there 1.12.7. 3/10 clear of Monkey, who was only just ahead of Reflex Pilot, and then a big gap to Sander, Stenner and Charisma, who make out the rest of the top 6. Budweiser, Titan, Pineapple T and 3-time race winner Formula Maxim make out the top 10. And we did have a very helpful weather report in the chat from Ultra Titan, who says weather I don't know. As we can see right now on the screen, it looks a little bit overcast, I think is the right word to say. It doesn't look like it's raining, so I think we're going to have dry tyres to start, but we could have rain at some point. We did have rain in the sprint race last year at Austria for F2, and it is a circuit that does attract the wet weather, so that might spice things up a bit. We've got 20 laps of the feature race, followed by 14 laps, I believe, on the sprint race. So 34 laps in total coming up. Like I said, we've got the chaotic bit done, and now we're going to have hopefully a good feature race, followed by a very good sprint race. And let's just have a look back while we've got the time to last week. Unfortunately, the stream last week we had some problems with, so we didn't catch too much of the action, but Reflex Pilot was on pole last week at Silverstone, so he got the 4 points for that. Formula Maxim won for the 3rd time this season. He's got the most wins out of anyone so far this season. He won for the 3rd time in the feature race at Silverstone, and Just Sander won his 2nd sprint race of the season, so that's one to keep an eye out for today. Just Sander, very good in the sprint races, gets himself in good positions with that reverse grid, and takes advantage of that. So he's won twice in the sprint races, Just Sander. Can he make a move in a feature race before that? That's where the majority of the points are. It's reduced points for the sprint race, which is why Just Sander not as high up in the championship as he would like with those 2 wins. In the championship, we've currently got Division on 97 points. He's won only once, but just that consistency from Division. He's yet to win a feature race either, so he could be on for that first feature race win of the season. He's on pole here at Austria. Monkey has won a feature race. He won in the Netherlands in round 3. He's currently in P2 in the championship, so 1 and 2 in the championship, 1 and 2 on the grid. He's 7 points behind, but that's now 11 points after Division's 4 points for pole. And Formula Maxim, unsurprisingly, after his 3 wins, is P3 in the championship. He is a further 10 points back from Monkey. So here we go then, formation lap before we get the 20 laps underway. And as we've seen a few times here in F2, few guys, even on the formation lap, just struggling to get off the line of touch. As we're just going to get sorted here, the track map and all of that. And we can see on the left hand side of your screen there, a little bit surprisingly perhaps, and that might be an indicative of the weather, every driver on the super soft tyres, or is that ultra soft? My eyes are slightly deceiving me here. They're very soft. That's the best way to describe them. You can see the purple wall around them. So they're going to go for probably, I would guess, 7 or 8 laps. And then what would normally be what I believe are the medium tyres to the end of the race in F2. But if they're all starting on the softer tyres, I wonder if we might get some rain at some point. None of the drivers are in the chat to give us an update on the weather. If anyone is listening, let us know. Halo saying he definitely would have won if he was racing. Did well last week, Halo, in I think it was your first race of the season. So he might not be wrong. Shame not to see you out there. Hopefully get you back out there soon. And let's see then. We can see the grid. Spicy battle up front. The Division Monkey always been very quick in F2. There every week and run the championship, and you can see why they run an F2 championship, because they're very good at it. And Division on pole, Monkey P2. Reflex Pilot has shown some very good pace recently on pole last week, and very quick driver. So he's going to pose a threat. Sander, we know, is consistent. We know likes the sprint races. He hasn't performed too well in feature races, but probably his best starting position of the season, P4. So keep an eye out there. And obviously TTM Stenner is always quick. Just needs to cut out the mistakes. Not sure if he's still on that no traction. But here we go for the feature race. Round 5 for F2 in Austria. 3, 4 and 5 red lights. Great view to start with. And the lights are out. Is anyone going to stall? Which we've seen. Looks like everyone gets away well. Division just ahead of Monkey, but Monkey on the inside is going to have a look, just backs out of it a touch. Division runs wide, which a lot of people do in Austria, still leads. We've got a lot of spins at the back. There's a lot of spins. Bone Apple Tea and Budweiser. Bone's the one with the most damage. He's round into the wall. Monkey leads from Reflex Pilot. Division down into P3, and Charisma goes really deep in behind. Teammates Sandra and Stenner just about come out of that unscathed. Division's down to P3. Chaos to start, as we see often in F2. And Division drops down 2 positions from pole. And Takumi's had an incident as well. And Maxim down into P9. We see him forced slightly wide by Vortex. Maxim down into P9. We missed the start of an overtake, but Vortex is through. Crazy start as always, as Division looks to make up those places. Let's see, he's very close to Reflex Pilot. Got the jump on him. We saw it run up to turn 3 as Division just has to brake a little bit earlier than he would have liked. So Bone, Budweiser and Takumi, the ones who have lost out at the start. Budweiser's looked like he spun at turn 1 and then held it together. Looks like he's still just about keeping up with the pack. Bone Apple Tea, big spin, as we've got a few guys. Ultra Titans ghosting, and we've got DRS Enable, which is definitely wrong. So a few telemetry issues, I think, there as Division looks like he's going to have a look then up into turn 3. He's going to have a look up the inside of Reflex Pilot, looking to get that position back straight away. Great track for overtaking, and Division's looking to make the most of it. Now we've got a drag race down to turn 4. In behind that is the 2 teammates, Sander and Stenner as well. They're having their own drag race. There's Division's on the inside. I think Stenner's on the inside behind that, and he is. Oh, and Stenner goes deep. Division's through on Reflex. Stenner is through on his teammate as well, up in the P4. Look out for a lot of overtakes in those 2 positions. Turn 3 and turn 4, that's where you're going to see them. So Division makes up 1 spot from his drop from P1 to P3. Now he's back up to P2. Roller coaster start from him. Looks like we've got a bit of a freeze on the timing screens. But the positions are right as far as I know. Monkey leads from Division, who leads from Reflex Pilot, and then the 2 teammates of TTM Stenner and Just Sander very close together. And now that we've done 2 laps, DRS should be enabled. We've got the notification a lap too early, I think. So look out for that. There's a lot of cars within a second of each other. We've got Charisma's joined the battle with Sander. And we're looking to see the top 6 of sort of distance themselves from the rest. And we've got a DRS train of the top 6 here. Not getting great camera. Who's going to be the closest? We've got a battle for the lead. Division is going to have DRS. And he's going to have a look at his, not teammate, but at his friend, that's for sure. And he gets the job done. Monkey's going to come back at him up the inside. They're going to go side by side through the technical part of Sector 2. Monkey around the outside, just like he did at Turn 1, backs out of it. A lot of respect, obviously, between these two. Never, it's often seen side by side, but never colliding. I'm sure I've just jinxed it. As Monkey goes around the outside, down towards Turn 9. Has he got the job done? He has. Division has to concede the spot. And now the top 4 have spread away a little bit. Charisma's jumped. Sander has had an issue. Just Sander has dropped down the P13. He has had a problem there which we missed. As the Division's going to go up the inside of Monkey to Turn 1. He cuts the corner a touch. Monkey goes slightly wide. And it's Reflex. He gets the best run out of the 3. Look at this. Reflex. Now he's boxed in. Has to put on the brakes a touch. Is he going to try and go for a double overtake? Up the inside, nowhere to go though, and he has to brake, and the 2 Dutch drivers go side by side again, and now Stenner takes advantage of Reflex being completely boxed out into Turn 3, and he gets a jump up in the P3. And is that rain? Is that rain on the screen? I think it might be. Keep an eye out for that. Few drops possibly on the screen a second ago when we were on board. But Division now leads Monkey. Got him into Turn 4. Stenner's up in the P3. And Charisma, it is definitely raining. Rain is here in Austria. We called it when we saw everyone on the soft tyres. And it is starting to rain. It's not going to be long either. If we go on board here with Charisma, it's not going to be long until the guys are going to have to pit for those wet tyres. Only wet tyres in F2. No intermediates. It's either dry or it's wet. And you can see Reflex struggling there. As Division starts to pull out that gap, the biggest gap it's been between the top 3 cars. And I wonder if the weather... Oh, Stenner just about does really well to save it. Charisma ran wide behind him, so doesn't get a great run. DRS is still open. Stenner did really well to save that because it looked like he was heading for the barriers. Charisma goes very deep, but actually holds it and then has a half spin, which allows Stenner... I mean, these F2 cars are not easy to drive. Oh, Bone, where are you going? These guys are not easy to drive in normal conditions. As Zampa's had a spin as well. Yellow flag in Sector 1. And we're going to see Titan get a very nice and easy run. I think Chaz has had a moment as well at Turn 3. Going to see Titan up the inside of Zampa. And these guys are really starting to struggle. I think we see just... Oh, and Titan, where have you gone? DRS is disabled. Absolute chaos here as Budweiser spun. He has. Budweiser had a moment. The track has got very wet very quickly. Budweiser had a moment. Zampa's had a moment. And surely these guys are coming into the pits. They are. Division and Monkey both pit. Managed to avoid the back of each other. Everyone coming in. This is going to affect... I can't quite tell who the teammates are here because my knowledge of F2 cars is pretty shoddy. Is Maxim staying out? He is. Maxim staying out. So he's going to get the jump. He's going to be super slow on those dry tyres. Everyone else I'm sure is going to pit. Budweiser in. Vortex in. Zampa I'm sure will be in. So Maxim goes out a lap too long, I would have suggested. Sander, and you can see all the guys on wet tyres down here are too far back to gain anything from having pitted a lap earlier. They all had problems. And just while everyone's in the pit lane, hello to Craig Conley and Dubsy in the chat. Spicy rain indeed. We did think there might be some rain when everyone was on those super soft tyres at the start. And we see it's only taken 5 laps. So Maxim leads. Division has the net P1 because you can see, look at that. That gap was 13 seconds when I started that sentence. And now it's 11 and a half in just in a straight. So Maxim has stayed out far too long, and the pit stop in F2 is very, very long as well. So he's going to drop well down the grid. Division net P1. And look how much he's gaining. It's got so wet so quickly. Division is flying. He's gained 5 seconds in about 3 corners. Just look at this timing gap here. Maxim must be really struggling. You can see him. He's nursing the car back. And he's going to pit now. But Division's made up. Well, he's going to make up by the time this lap finishes. Oh, it's Maxim. I'm not sure he missed the pit lane last lap maybe. That's why he didn't pit. But he is in now, but that's cost him a good 15-20 seconds. Unfortunately for Maxim, who was P3 in the championship, and he gets a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane for his troubles. So that's his race now in tatters, unfortunately, Maxim. As we've got a yellow flag down here, that's Bone Apple Tea, and not having a good race by his high standards. And you see a few guys, Ultra Titan as well, very, very quick in the F1 cars, struggling in the F2. As a lot of these experienced drivers are. But the three who had a season-long battle in Season 1, Division, Monkey and Stenner, are the guys who are showing that experience today as Aero leaves the session. So let's get him back in. He did have some connection issues before the race as well, so hopefully he can get back in. We'll send him a couple of invites. Aero, if you're watching and you've got a couple, let me know if you need another. So he's currently in P6, but Maxim amazingly only comes out in P7. I thought it'd be much lower than that. So he's done pretty well there. We've got another yellow flag. That looks to be Takumi going pretty slow and gets out of the way of drivers. Fair play there. I think he might be pitting. The car doesn't look particularly healthy. And we've got finally a bit of normality. But these two, Budweiser and Zampa, are still going. That's it. But just those wet conditions, now with DRS disabled, has just calmed the race down a touch. You can see the gap, 2 seconds between 1 and 2 and 2 seconds between 2 and 3. And this is our closest battle right now as Zampa gets through on Budweiser. I'm not sure if Budweiser had a problem there coming out of turn 4, which I missed. He looks like to be going very, very slowly right now. And I'm not sure what's happened there. But Zampa's through, and that's all that matters. And now, luckily for us, the interval has gone, so we have no idea who's battling. As SSR Hamilton's in the chat, and he redeems an I love SSR sandwich. So thank you for that. As we see Sandy get a penalty, let's check in on that, and we can see that Division and Monkey both with 5-second time penalties, and must be speedy in the pit lane. We missed that at the time. And surprised by that. We were just saying how experienced they were, and they've both got 5-second time penalties for trying to rush into that pit lane in the wet weather, and that could bring Stenner back into play. He's only got 3 seconds. Charisma with no penalties right now. He's well in with a chance of at least a podium in this race. Reflex, unfortunately, with 5 seconds might cost him a chance, but we don't know what the rain's going to do either. Might force these guys into another pit stop at some point. Remember, in F2 that pit stop is a long time, so you do not want to be pitting unless it's absolutely necessary. But we've seen how quickly that weather can change already, as these guys are now spreading themselves out. Psycho Chaz is all over the back of Budweiser. He seems to be struggling. He's dropped 3.5 seconds already over Zampa. So I think he might have either wing damage or is just struggling on those wet tyres. 22 people watching. Thanks for tuning in as always, guys. If you're new to Safe Space Racing, give us a follow. Check out the website, which the link is somewhere on the page. Should be in our About section. If you're interested in joining the league or just checking us out and doing some 5-lappers, whatever, visit the website, click on the Discord link, get yourselves in the Discord and have some fun. Plenty of reserve spots, plenty of spots as you can see in the F2 right now. Only 15 drivers on the grid this week. A couple of people not able to continue with their seats. So if you're interested in F2 and you're enjoying what you're seeing tonight, come and check us out and get yourself a full-time F2 seat. And what is a very fun F2 league for sure. We've seen how chaotic the opening can be. We had a very fun first 4 or 5 laps. Division started on pole. dropped down to P3 and then made 2 very good overtakes on Monkey and Reflex Pilot to reclaim the lead, and he is the quickest driver on track right now. That is for sure. The other quick driver is Reflex Pilot, who is all over the back of Charisma for P4. And, right now Charisma still not in a bad spot for a possible podium, but needs to try and keep Reflex behind him if he can, but that doesn't look like it's going to happen because Reflex is quicker. See him close that gap down. As Charlie Locke Racing's in the chat says, come on Team Chaz, currently in P12, but let's have a look at Chaz because he is not too far behind Budweiser. Let's see if he can get that move done. We'll go on board with Chaz in the car then. He's got that Yuki Tsunoda car we can see, and if he can drive anything like his real life counterpart, then he's going to have some good pace. Unfortunately, gearbox, there's a slight issue there, so we'll go back to the broadcast shoot. Yeah, Halo's still in, just doesn't have an actual seat to race on right now, but we have had a couple of other guys unfortunately not turn up for a while, so I know for a fact there's at least 2 full-time seats going in this F2 league. If anyone is interested, let's get back to this battle between Reflex Pilot and Charisma, the battle for P4, and we've seen Charisma as Reflex is going to go down the inside. This is a slightly risky move here. Charisma on the outside, brakes slightly later. Reflex has to tuck back in behind. But without DRS, he's going to have to make a move like that. It's going to have to be a bit of a send somewhere. Not easy in these F2 cars, in these conditions. We can see the rain is really coming down now. And the Charisma frustrating Reflex Pilot in that Charouz car as Charisma slides his way through turn 3. Doesn't get the traction down, the power down, and Reflex also struggling with that. Gets it slightly better than the car in front, and Charisma just about leaving enough room. Reflex looking around the outside again. Charisma brakes later. That's going to allow the switch back, but again Charisma defends. Great driving from the I don't know what car that is. That's my bad again, guys. I know it's round 5, but my F2 knowledge is still not there. We're going to call it the red car, the red and black car. But he's defending well in whatever one it is. If anyone's in the chat and wants to... Oh, I've jinxed him. The commentator's curse for Charisma as he goes off at turn 6/turn 7. Just lost the car, went straight on into the gravel. Looks like he might just about regain P5, but Charisma off. And Reflex goes through as he doesn't have to pit, but we've got Aero now steaming in behind him. And it's going to be difficult to warm those tyres back up for Charisma as well. As Psycho Chaz once again all over the back of Budweiser. He's got the pace to keep up with him. He doesn't have the pace to overtake him right now. I think Chaz, just being careful, was involved in a few incidents a couple of weeks ago. And he's just being patient. And fair play to him for doing that. I'm sure at some point there will be that opportunity to get through. You can see these cars don't look like they're travelling at any speed at all right now. And the guy's having to tiptoe their way around in these wet conditions. Bit of a battle beginning right now between TTM Stenner and IR Monkey. Stenner with 2 seconds less penalties than Monkey, 1.5 seconds behind on the track as we've got a yellow flag in sector 1. I think that was Takumi, struggling right now, currently a minute behind as Zampa gets through on Vortex, who's just left the session, so we'll get him in. Not sure if that was a rage at being overtaken by Zampa in an F2 car. Wouldn't surprise me. Vortex, have I got him as a friend? I don't think I do, so let's give me 2 seconds. Vortex. Always has to be the one with the tough name to spell that I don't have on my friends list. Bear with me, guys. Vortex FN. And we certainly might. Okay, and looked like there was some battling going on somewhere. Was that Chaz? Yeah, Chaz on the ghosted Vortex gets through. Vortex lets them both go. Chaz is still behind Budweiser. This is a key battle now. A for the last points position, currently P10, but also a chance to possibly get themselves up into that reverse grid spot. Reverse grid pole, and we did say watch out for it, is currently just under the twice sprint race winner. And he is looking good for a sprint race pole position again here in Austria. That's his forte. He loves the sprint race, gets himself that pole position and runs off into the distance. Maxim as well, also very good at those sprint races, and he's looking good for possibly P6 here though in the feature race. He's going to go around the outside of Aero. That's a great looking move. That's to run really wide to do it, and we can see Maxim then reappear on the outside of Aero. Almost spins with that contact, just about keeps it together. Maxim gets through, and yeah, I'm not sure Maxim could have done much more there. Looked like he left as much room as possible. Not really an overtaking spot that last corner, but they decided to go too wide, and they made it work. As we see Stenner still within that 2-second range of a Monkey. That's the battle for P2 right now. The battle for P1 looks done and dusted. Division's going to extend that championship lead, barring a driver error. Currently leads by 4.2 seconds, 6 laps to go, and he's just been extending that gap for the last, when the rain came, 8 laps ago, and he's just been edging clearer and clearer since then. And the closest battle is still Psycho Chaz, who's finally going to get past Budweiser. Got a better run through turn 1. And on the way up past the non-existent turn 2 and up towards turn 3, Chaz now gets past Budweiser and into that last point position. So well done to him for being patient, waited till he had the right moment, and he gets himself up into 10th. Currently worth 1 point, but Zampa we've seen pick up quite a few penalties, and yeah, we can see Zampa 6 seconds worth of penalties. Psycho Chaz nothing so far, as we almost curse someone again, and now Budweiser's going to have a great run on Chaz, and we're going to see Budweiser on the outside in your picture. There he is. Get rid of that for you. Budweiser around the outside, Chaz on the inside. Let's see, he's going to be braver into turn 6. Budweiser still on the outside. We've got a yellow flag as well. Someone off ahead of him. I'm not sure who that is. We're going to find out in a second. It's Zampa. Zampa's off. Oh, he's off into turn 8. And that's a big accident as well, as Bone Apple T gets through. So now Chaz and Budweiser both into the points, and they're going to be scrapping over P9. Zampa's down to P13. We see him have a spin or an incident at turn 1 as well at some point. And he's struggling, unfortunately, in these wet conditions. Down to P13 for Zampa. Budweiser and Chaz up into the top 10. And that's going to stay as our closest battle. We can see, just run through the order quickly. Division with that 5-second time penalty, but that's matched by Monkey's 5 seconds. So he is comfortably out front. He leads by 5. Zampa retires from this session, not wanting to continue with the wet weather. He's going to have a bit of a breather until the sprint race. TTM Stenner remained in that 2-second gap. He looks good currently for 2nd place. That's the battle right now up at the top. Stenner v Monkey. 2 seconds difference in the penalties, and Stenner within 2 seconds, and has been for a long time. Reflex Pilot looking very comfortable in P4, 10 seconds clear of Charisma. Does have 5 seconds or more penalties. Charisma P5 looking good for him. He's certainly improved over the last couple of weeks. Maxim looking good for P6. No, he's not, because he's got 5 seconds more penalties than Aero, so that's another gap to keep an eye out from. Aero and Formula Maxim is the battle there. 4.2 seconds the gap currently, and that's currently going to be Aero P6, Maxim P7. Just Sander currently on course for the sprint race pole, and Psycho Chaz and Budweiser making out the rest of the top 10, and that has been our race long battle so far for those last couple of positions. And Halo cheering on Budweiser, and Charlie Lock cheering on Chaz. So that's a on-track and an off-track battle there. for these guys. Both guys getting some love in the chat. And we saw Chaz be very, very patient for quite a few laps. They eventually got past Budweiser. Then Chaz had a bit of a moment coming out of this very corner, which he gets right this time. And Budweiser forced him into a bit of defensive move, which he drove very well. And you have to say Chaz has driven a very good race so far up against Budweiser, who's a very, very quick tier 1 driver. So good stuff from Chaz. And he currently is P9 and looking good for P9. Both those guys without penalties. And then we're also going to keep an eye on the other battle that we have so far. The slightly more important battle is Budweiser gets a 3-second time penalty. So that's probably going to be that in the battle for P9. As Stenner runs slightly wide. He can't afford any more penalties. Let's just check in on that. As Stenner has not... He's had 1 warning, which I think we just saw him pick up there as he ran wide. Monkey's on 2 warnings, so both these guys should be okay in terms of getting to the end without any more penalties. Stenner's very, very comfortable right now in that 2-second gap, but let's just follow him round, make sure he can stick in that. We'll keep an eye on Chaz and Budweiser as well, but that one looks done now that Budweiser's picked up that penalty. As we see Stenner through turn 1, very, very comfortable through there. Gets his line spot on. Don't have to worry about the glaring sun beaming at you up the hill in this weather. And like you say, he's not really pushing too hard in terms of trying to overtake Monkey. He'll know what the penalty situation is. We go around the difficult turn 3. Slight issue with traction there as Ultra Titan's left the session. Standing a little bit wobbly through that, but we'll get Ultra Titan back in first. Why do I not have Ultra Titan as a friend? That's what happens when you're on a new account. Bear with me, Ultra. I'm going to get you back in. Ultra Titan. Zamper, if you're listening as well, if you could drop him an invite. Yeah, Titan, just going to drop you an invite as well. And yeah, Zamper, if you're watching as well, if you wouldn't mind dropping Titan an invite if you're still in the game, which I think you are. Ultra, I've just sent you one, hopefully you can get back in. Stenner still within 1.5 seconds. He's got, I believe this is going to be the last, oh, we've got 2 more laps, division, 2 more laps of the feature race. He's looking good for a pole to feature race win. 29 points is a very good way to start the race weekend for our championship leader. Monkey doing the best he can to try and hang on, but I think he's going to lose that P2. This is the battle right now. It doesn't look that big on screen, but it's big when you compare it to... It's very small, sorry, when you have a look at penalties. Current gap is 0.1 seconds. 2 seconds of difference in penalties. 1.9 seconds of difference on track. Stenner just looks like he's dropping out of touch. Monkey noticing that that gap needs to be bigger for him. And he's trying to spread those legs a touch. Not spread those legs, that's a weird phrase. I meant stretch those legs, but that might get clipped out of context. What Monkey does in his personal time, of course, not what we should be talking about. But Monkey is trying to stretch those legs, and instead though, Stenner has reined him in by a couple of attempts. That gap now down to 1.7 seconds. And Stenner looking good for P2, which he has done. Good stuff from him. He started P6 on the grid, I want to say. So good recovery from him in the wet conditions. Oh, and he gets on the grass. And he... What's happening to Stenner? Stenner's dropping... Is he out of fuel? Has he got a puncture? Stenner's got some big problems here. I'm not sure what's happened. I honestly can't tell what's going on with Stenner right now. But he is dropping massively, and Reflex Pilot is going to catch him for sure. I'm not sure if he's out. I don't think he can be out of fuel in F2. But Reflex Pilot is going to catch him, I think. I don't know what's happened to Stenner on the last lap of the race. Has he got a puncture? Is that a rear left puncture? Let's see, his reflex is definitely catching him. He's dropped off by Monkey a ton. Great time for the intervals to go at the bottom. yeah, Stenner's really struggling. Reflex is going to catch him, but he's got 2 seconds more penalty, so Stenner might just about scrape a podium. Reflex is gaining and gaining. Division's about to come around the last corner and win the feature race in Austria. 25 points for him. Dominant win after dropping down. He's in P1. Monkey's going to be P2. But where is Stenner going to finish? He's really struggling, as is Reflex though. And here comes Maxim. Maxim's gaining on both. I think both of them have got punctures. Maxim sails past Reflex. He's going to sail past Stenner. And Maxim's going to be on the podium here. These two have both got punctures. Aero goes through. He's gone through the ghosted car. Honestly, Reflex and Stenner with a puncture drag race to the line. What a finish we've got here. Oh, and Reflex is sliding around the last corner. And Aeros, I think, is also slow. Stenner takes P4 in the end. Reflex P5, Aero P6. Charisma jumps up to P5 with that finish. Sander's going to take reverse grid pole. What a finish there. Stenner, remarkably, having had a puncture for a whole lap, still takes P4 on what I can only assume were punctures. And yeah, Reflex confirming in the Discord chat, both of them had punctures at the end, which is why Maxim flew past all of them. It's like Silverstone F1. In real life, Stenner with a puncture, Reflex with a puncture, and they both take home decent results anyway. What a finish for the feature race, and we've still got 14 more laps to come. Maxim driver of the day thanks to that remarkable last lap. Wow, I wasn't expecting that. That got very entertaining very quickly. And we just couldn't get a good angle of it at start with to confirm it was a puncture. In the end, we were able to figure it out just based on the fact that the cars weren't moving particularly quickly. And the top three in the championship are the top three in the feature race here in Austria. So they're going to stretch their lead out of the top three. Maxim didn't look like he was going to get that podium until the last few corners. But there we go. Division, Monkey, Maxim, your top three. And we're looking forward. Hopefully we can speak to Maxim at the end of this race and just get that last lap from his point of view. That must have been very fun for him. And there we see it then. Division P1, Monkey P2. Division actually got an extra time penalty at the end. So that gap was only 2 seconds. Big gap to P3 in the end. We can see how much time Stenner lost. 40 odd seconds there at the end. So Maxim P3, Stenner P4 remarkably. Charisma, big jump from him as well. He benefited from the punctures. P5. Reflex P6, Aero P7, Sander gets reverse grid pole, and Chaz and Budweiser make out the rest of the points positions. The rest of the guys on the screen not scoring a point, but what a finish. And we've still got another race to go. And just like that, the rain has disappeared, and we are back in Austria for the sprint race, and only 14 laps this time. And we're going to have just Sander on pole, who won last week's sprint race in Silverstone. So he's looking to go back to back on the sprint races. He's run 2 out of 4 so far, like we said, a bit of an expert. Division gets his first feature race win of the season. So he'll be pleased with that, extends that lead at the top of the standings. That's going to be a season-long battle between him and Monkey, and Maxim going to look to take advantage of others' mistakes as well and keep himself in there. He's going to need a good result here in the sprint race. But let's look out for that lap 1 carnage that we saw about half an hour ago, because it would not surprise me to see a very similar thing at the start of this race. That turn 1 at Austria just invites carnage. And let's see, you can ready up as soon as you want on the sprint race, I believe, so no issues there. And we're just waiting for Ultra. I think, did he get back in? Let's just while we're doing the formation lap, just going to drop Ultra Titan another invite, because I'm not sure if he did get back in or not. Like he was taking a while to ready up. Options has got another invite. Hopefully he can get back in. He's going to start from P12. Let's run you through the reverse grid then. The top 8 reverse for the sprint race. And it's just Sander on pole, Aero in P2, Reflex Pilot P3, Charisma P4, Stenner P5, Maxim, who is going to be P6 after that crazy finish, as we've got a few DSQs at the back. Monkey P7, and Division gets dropped from P1 to P8. The rest of the grid as they finished. And guys, just while we're waiting for the end of this formation, that reminder of what's to come this week. And we've got Tier 1 that's going to be starting pretty much this time tomorrow. And they are racing in, bear with me for a second, Tier 1 are racing in China tomorrow. A track we haven't seen yet this season in any tier, so that's going to be fun. And we've seen some rain here today. It wouldn't surprise me if we see some rain tomorrow in China. And you'll be pleased to know that me and Maxim are back on the comms tomorrow. So if you listened last week and you enjoyed the ramblings of me and Maxim, then tune back in, because we're going to be back tomorrow. And of course, as always with Tier 1, there's going to be some very, very quick racing as well. Tier 2 on Tuesday at Russia. And I managed to finish a race last week, so if you want to come and watch me and a few of these guys who we've got on the screen today in Tier 2, and we are in Russia on Saturday 11 PM GMT, and on Sunday we've got Monza for Tier 3, also at 11 o'clock GMT. So Monza, always an exciting race, so tune in for those. And if you are new around here, give us a follow. Get yourself notified when we go live for these races. And to be honest with you, we've not really had a disappointing race yet this season, if I'm honest, certainly the ones that I've seen. And that includes F2. And what a race we had that just finished. And we're back for the sprint race. Just Sounder on pole, looking to go back to back in sprint races here in F2. And it's going to be a drag race up the hill between him and Aero. And Aero gets a much better start. The car on the left hand side flies off the grid spot. He's up in the P1 before turn 1, and the Reflex looking racy as well, but Sanders got the outside line, just about keeps ahead on the run up past the non-existent turn 2. He's going to head up the turn 3 with a drag race for just Sander and Reflex Pilot. A lot of cars jostling for position behind. Reflex dives at the inside, then backs out. Sander goes a touch wide. Stenner looks for the gap that doesn't really exist between them. Has to back out, and that invites Monkey with a good start to get ahead of Stenner. They're going to drag race now to turn 4. Stenner's on the inside, going to brake slightly later. Monkey wants to stay around the outside, but Stenner's now in front, and Monkey's going to have to back out. Charisma just in behind. He's got Maxim for company on the outside of him. Ran turn 5. Maxim can't keep it on the racing line. And Psycho Chaz is racy as well. Oh, he's going up the inside of Maxim. Maxim doesn't, I'm not sure, sees him coming, and that pushes Maxim out. And Division now at the P8 where he started. Maxim the loser from that battle. And they'll file through. Got a car diving up the inside there. I think it's Division looking again a bit racy. He wants to get past Chaz. Looking to make up that ground that he lost from the reverse grid. And that's a drag race to the line. And that's Bone Apple T looking for a decent line through turn 1. Division can't get ahead right now. And actually Maxim's going to look to get past him in a second. On your screen now with Division. And that's Maxim now on the outside. On the route to turn 3. And he's going to brake slightly later. Oh, and Psycho Chaz gets a little bit deep behind that. And that's going to allow Division to get the run on Chaz. And where's Maxim gone? Maxim's had a bit of a moment at turn 3. We managed to lose him in all the different camera angles. Maxim's obviously lost a bit of traction out of turn 3. He's dropped down. Bone T up to 9th. Division P8. And we've got a Chaz train already from P7 down. 3-second gap between Chaz and Charisma in P6. And Titan has obviously managed to get back in, and might be wishing he hadn't, because he is off at turn 4. And his bad luck. Yeah, F2 continues. Started so well this season. Pole in Russia on lap 1. He's managed to get himself disqualified, unfortunately. So Aero still leads, but just Sander is going to have a little run down at turn 1, looking to regain that lead, and gets it done with a bit of a send at turn 1. But Aero gives him the room. Good respect between the two. Aero's going to want it back, but Sanders the one with DRS, and who's that? Reflex. 3 wide up to turn 3. Reflex, Stenner and Aero. And the two teammates of Aero and Reflex, and sorry, with Reflex and Stenner. Oh, it's difficult to tell these cars apart. It's Aero P3 in the Carlin, Reflex P4, and then the teammates, sorry, Stenner and Sander now P1 and P2, as Reflex sends it up the inside of Aero. Monkey looking interested in behind as well. Absolute carnage as always in F2, especially at a track like Austria. We've got Reflex and Aero going side by side right now. Reflex on the outside, round turn 5, 6 and 7. Through turn 8 as well. We can see these guys so close together. Monkey looking interested as well. Charisma's pretty close behind. You can see Chaz is closed up massively as well. He's still holding up. Division, Maxim, Pineapple T in behind, but they are closing in on this pack as Division finally gets through. And now he's going to be able to catch up very, very quickly to this train in behind. The DRS train between P1 and P6. As Monkey's going to get through on Aero into turn 1. Crazy, crazy start. Bradley Johnson in the chat. Hello, mate. Hope you're all good. Bit of a lie-in for you, was it? I think. And guys, I believe we are back alive. Big apologies for that. The game decided that I wasn't going to be connected to anymore, so I just had to do a few things to sort that out. And we have missed a pretty crazy race by the looks of things. So big apologies for that. We'll try and run through what happened. We can see that the guys who finished one or almost finished 1, 2 and 3 in the feature race are back up into the podium positions. We can see that it started to rain with 2 laps to go. Stenner currently leads. We can't see exactly by how much because it doesn't want to tell us. But Stenner Monkey Division currently at top 3. Sander has dropped massively. He's now on the wet tyres. He's dropped down to P12. Budweiser is up in the P10. Oh, and we catch a Takumi spin just at the end there. And we can see Reflex Pilot is pretty close to Division, who's pretty close to Monkey, who's pretty close to Stenner. Top 4 really close together there. And we've got a really exciting race, and we've missed a really exciting race as well. So gutted about that. We are back for the conclusion of it, and hopefully we can get a few guys in for an interview and just talk us through the race, because we weren't able to see it ourselves. Let's check in on penalties. Division and Reflex and Charisma all with 3. So once again, Monkey and Stenner looking good for that battle up front, and hopefully Stenner can avoid a puncture at the end of a race this time. And with just over a lap to go, like I said, apologies for missing the important part of the race. We got the start and the finish, which in real life is what a lot of people just tune in for, but virtually and certainly today it looks like we've missed a very good middle part of the race. Be interested to know what happened to Sander there. Dropped down to P12 and doesn't look particularly quick on those wet tyres either. Aero and Charisma were having the battle, and really it's just Stenner, Monkey and Division have made their way through the grid, and that's what we've missed out on. Maxim as well has dropped down a touch into P8. So a couple of guys look like they have had incidents that we've missed, and we've missed the battles between the top 3 and their overtakes. So we'll get them in the party hopefully and talk through that right at the end there. And a nice little short stream just to recap this race, and we'll get rid of that right at the end. So apologies for those issues. It wouldn't be an F2 stream without them. Had to unfortunately restart the whole Xbox to get it to work again. Just found that a DRS has been disabled, so he's going to be quickest right now on the wet tyres, as the Takumi's actually I think retired on track. We're going to see someone come up to him in a minute. Who's that going slow? Not Stenner again with issues, is it? Or is that just a game? Yeah, I think it's just a game. He's having to tiptoe around on the dry tyres on a wet track with the last lap to go, and Division's harassing Monkey for the P2 spot, but he's got a 3-second time penalty, so it won't matter in the end. Stenner's going to win the sprint race by the looks of things. Really unfortunate we couldn't catch his drive up through the field. as Charisma looks like he's had an issue. He's dropped down to P7. Unfortunately, Zampa's going to score some points in P6. Aero P5, and Stener's going to come across the line. He's going to win the sprint race in Austria, round 5. Monkey's going to... Oh, Monkey's lost it across the line, but gets P2 anyway. I'd love to see that gap at the end there. That's going to be interesting. I don't know if he just crashed too early or if he actually lost it for real there. Monkey does take P2 in the end. Division P3, Reflex P4. Monkey dents a touch into that championship lead. Aero P5, Zampa P6, Charisma P7, and oh my god, we've got Carnage on the finish line as Maxim takes the final point in P8. Chaz with a solid drive all even in P9, 2 P9s for him and 2 P10s for Budweiser by the looks of things. And we can get hopefully a few of the guys in a party. It'd be nice to be able to do that for once with F2. And as we see, the last couple of guys just about to cross the line. And just sounded to go. And that's going to be it for the sprint race, guys. If you did tune back in for the second part of the stream, thanks very much. Apologies for the delay in the middle of that race. Looks like we missed a good one. We'll hear from the drivers about it in just a second. And just going to get a few guys in. You got a box. And we've got Division Stenner as Maxim as well. Well, I've invited him because he had a crazy feature race and I do want to hear from him. Just going to flick through all the results just so that we can get him on the screen. Maxim, if you mess this party up, I'm not going to be happy. Stenner's in as well.
That's still working.
All the guys in.
Oh, no, Stenner's streaming. Oh, no, it's still there. Never mind.
No, I'm good.
The box is still there. Everyone's good.
Yes.
We might have some interviews for once in F2. Well, it wasn't without some technical problems because we did miss most of the sprint race. So I'm going to ask you guys about that in a second. Maxim, I'm going to come to you first. Just because I want to hear your version of the final lap of the feature race. You jumped at least 3 spots into the podium position there. Just talk us through that, if you can.
Well, I mean, I stayed out a lap longer on the slick tyres, and it paid off big time. Even though on that lap that I stayed out on the, what was it, like super softs or something, I lost about 20 seconds on that lap. But
yeah, a lot of time with that.
Obviously, that little bit of extra tyre life gave me that podium, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah, at the time it didn't look like the right call because you were losing a heck of time. But,
yeah.
If it avoided you a puncture, then it obviously was the right call. So fair play for that.
Yes.
Stenner, not a great ending to the feature race because it looked like you're on for P2, but we missed you flying through the grid in the sprint race. So just talk us through your last lap of the feature race, and then if you can, the sprint race as well.
The feature race was going alright, but then like my tyres decided they wanted to puncture at 75% when usually the windows from like around 80% onwards is when you usually get punctures. So that was a bit annoying, which obviously cost me a couple, like 2 positions I think in the end. The sprint race was just a case of avoiding a few little things that were going on ahead of me, and then just making a couple of overtakes. It was a fairly decent race. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, nice to see you back on the top step. We saw the first couple of laps of the sprint race was pretty crazy. And then at the end of the feature race, it looked like Reflex was going to get you, and then him and Aero got a puncture as well. So it was a bit of a puncture drag race to the finish line.
Yeah.
It's P3 overall tonight, so pretty good. Well done.
Thank you.
Monkey, P2 overall. and P2 in both races as well, I believe, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, good stuff from you. I mean, you were leading the feature race at one point before the weather came in. Was it just a case of division being quicker in the rain today?
Yeah, division was overall a bit quicker, even before the pit stops, and then I didn't saw the sign of the speed limit in the pit, so division and I made the same mistakes. And after the pit, yeah, he just drove away. I saved my tires quite a lot. They were 61% in the end, so it was pretty good. And I think divisions were over 80%. So he just got lucky that he didn't get a puncture. But overall, good result, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah, keeps the top two pretty close in the championship. I think you guys are going to have a season-long battle. But division, you are on top today. Just talk us through the feature race to start with, because you didn't get away particularly well from pole. Had to make up a few positions. How was that for you?
We can just say my starts are shit and they will never be better. So expect me to drop every time once I start a race. Then in the rain I really pushed my rears. That's why I gained a lot of time on Monkey as well, I think. And that got me to like 85% on the rears. So I don't know how they didn't puncture, but I don't know. The tire gods were with me today on the feature race.
That is for sure. And just talk us through the sprint race, because we missed the majority of your comeback. I think you were P7 when we crashed out, and P2 when we came back in. So just a few overtakes, was it, to get through the grid?
Yeah, I got held up a long time behind Psycho Chas and then slowly made my way up. Unfortunately, got a penalty, but I don't think that mattered anyway. I don't know. I didn't see the results for the sprint race because you invited me.
Sorry about that.
I don't even know where I finished, to be honest.
I think you were P3.
Oh, okay.
Monkey had a bit of a crash on the line, but he kept P2.
Yeah, Reflex behind me had a penalty as well. So yeah.
Yeah, so P3 and obviously P1 overall. But
No,
yeah,
by the way,
guys,
Monkey didn't spin on the start. He did it for show points. So
No.
for show points.
Yeah, I did it for show points.
yeah.
Okay. Well, it was very good. It wasn't as good as the feature race ending, but it was pretty good nonetheless. Guys, thanks very much, and thank you for doing interviews. The first time I've been able to have interviews this season. So thank you very much for that. And that has been all from me. And we are back next week. Where are we next week, Division?
Monkey.
Brazil.
Yay.
We are Interlagos, Brazil. So
Oh
stay tuned next week, Thursday at
More
10
chaos.
p.m. And we are
Dios
back
mio.
tomorrow with me and Maxim on comms. So that's going to be spicy for Tier 1, 11 p.m. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. See you later.
Ciao.